Hi everyone, today is October 20th, 2021 at 6 p.m. Pacific time, doing our regular Wednesday 6 p.m. live Q&A, questions and answers about general education issues regarding U.S. immigration. We have a good crowd that's regular and new people pop up, and a lot of you schedule consultations, so I'm really just happy to see that this program really helps out. We're going to be coming up with a second program. It's not going to be live, it's going to be recorded with my new associate. That's going to be coming up hopefully next week, but we'll keep you posted on that new show. We're going to do a lot of stuff to share this information about U.S. immigration, because I know how difficult it is for a lot of people, and the information is really inconsistent, hard to find, all that. So I'm going to do my best to try to help you all out with that. You know, has there been news in the immigration system? There's news every day, but for the most part, foreign cases who are doing consular processing are just not moving forward in many parts of the world. Some are, some aren't. And USCIS is moving forward. I'm having a lot of adjustment of status interviews for marriage cases, citizenship cases. Some of them get done in, a couple weeks even. I've had colleagues get their naturalization cases done in like 4 weeks. That's crazy. But some of them take a year. So the inconsistency is still there in the process. They're trying to work their way around it, but that's just what we're dealing with. The one thing that pops up a lot is whether to bring an immigration lawyer to an interview. And I don't make it a requirement. Some lawyers do. They say if you're going to do an adjustment of status interview, a naturalization interview, any other kind of interview with USCIS, it is best to, they make it mandatory even, to have an attorney present. Now, I don't always do that for probably half of my cases. More than half, I say, you don't have to have me come. But a lot of people say we'd rather have you there anyways. And the ones that don't have me come, it works out well. Now, if a client had major red flag issues, and I'll talk about what those typically are, I say, I have to come, or even at the beginning I notice them, and I say I have to come, because my goal is to make sure I get an approval. I don't want to have denials on their record. But most of the time they don't have these. And, just for example, the 3 things that are typical is that if they pop up, I see I have to come. One is if the foreign person who's getting the status has criminal history. It's important to have a lawyer there to explain it. Secondly, if they don't speak English well and they might not be able to answer the questions properly. And third is, if some people get really nervous. Some people get really nervous and then they answer things wrong, they look kind of fishy and they don't know what to do, and I want to be there in that circumstances. But even without that, sometimes it's good to have a lawyer there, because the presence of a lawyer has a psychological effect. There's an additional person in the room acting as a witness of what's going on. They could push back without looking bad for the client, because if I fight back on an officer who's being overzealous, which is rarely the case, it doesn't make the clients look bad. They look innocent in all this. So it's me taking on the heat. And it really calms down clients, and again, that witness aspect of taking notes of what's going on. If there's something fishy going on, if the questions aren't asked properly, I could jump in there, try to control the situation, or complain to a supervisor. It's hard for you to do that on your own when you're just tuning in and just showing up, because you don't know what's going on. I go to the same office, for example, Los Angeles every week. So it's very comfortable for me there to jump and say something, because I've been there so many times. So that's my the basics about coming to an interview. Lovelock asks, I have been approved for Expedite for the National Visa Center. That's wonderful. Sent my case to Port-au-Prince Embassy 4 weeks ago. I haven't heard anything about the interview. What should I do? So the National Visa Center is when you're doing a case where a person has to go to the U.S. Embassy to get the immigrant visa. Beforehand, you send it to the National Visa Center, all these documents, and once it's approved, they send it to the embassy. Here they say an Expedite was approved. It's been 4 weeks. Usually it doesn't take that long. First thing you could do is contact the embassy and say, hey, we had an Expedite approved. Can you let me know what's going on? If you don't get a response, probably like a week or 10 days, contact your local congressperson, let them know that Expedite was approved, but things are moving forward. What's the deal? Could they help out in any way? I haven't really heard of Haitian cases being moved forward. Port-au-Prince is Haiti, right? I could just be checked. I haven't really, because we have a lot of people that have consular processing cases from Haiti. I don't have any active myself right now, but they post here and everyone's saying nothing's moving forward. So if they approve an Expedite, then they should. But I haven't heard good stuff, but that's the thing. Contact the embassy, see if they got the memo, and if that doesn't work, contact your local congressperson or senator and say, hey, could you help me out on this? I don't know what's going on, but I hope you're able to get it done, love. I think you're a regular on the show, we've talked before, or at least on the show and even in a free chat. Hopefully it works out. I'm sorry to hear that. Keep me posted, whatever happens. YH asks, sir, I'm originally from Pakistan and recently became a U.S. citizen. Congratulations. So I'm a dual citizen now. is it legal to use Pakistani passport to leave the United States and U.S. passport to return? So when you're leaving the United States, U.S. doesn't really track it. They're supposed to, but they never did. But you can always leave. No one's going to ask you about your passport. It's more about the country you're going to, what visa you need, or where you can go. So for example, if you're leaving from the U.S. to go to France, you're going to want to use your U.S. passport because you don't need a visa to visit France, but probably do for EU visa or Schengen visa if you're Pakistani or using your Pakistani passport. Sorry, I just realized I think I'm talking really fast, so I'll kind of I have a habit of just running when I'm talking. But when you're coming to enter the United States as a U.S. citizen, you always have to use your U.S. passport. Now, some people lose it, they don't, they come in with a foreign passport, blah, blah, blah. But the rule is that if you're ever going to enter the United States, you have to identify yourself as a citizen with your passport. You know, there's variances. You might have your naturalization certificate at the border, you can walk in with that. But I don't want to get into all that kind of stuff. But generally, what you're doing should be fine. Whenever you're entering the United States, bring your passport. And if you're going to certain countries, if you're going back to Pakistan, just use your Pakistani passport. It's no problem. That's what I would do. 29 Super C asks, good night, Attorney Khosravi. Hope you're doing well. Thank you, 29 Super C, one of our regulars. Please tell us of any news of reducing backlogs at the U.S. embassies and consulates, any updates on immigration reform in Congress. As you know, I don't track what's going on in Congress on immigration because it usually doesn't go anywhere. And if it is going to go somewhere it does, I'll probably be quick to explain what it is. But with regards to the statistics, I was looking at this a couple weeks ago. But, you know, a month or two ago, let me back it up. There's this big backlog of cases that are pending embassy interviews. And about a month or 2 months ago, there were like 500,000 cases. And the National Visa Center or the Department of State said, typically we have 50,000 cases. Right now we have backed up. Now we have 500,000 cases. This was 2 months ago, kind of like looking at the current August timeline. I can't remember what it was. And looking back 2 years at the 2 years ago, August, before the pandemic. But I was looking at 2-3 weeks ago, it went from 500, 550 to like 400. So the backlog dropped. But then when they said 2 years ago around this time how much it was like, you know, 15,000 cases or 20,000 cases the backlog. So the total numbers went down, but relative to historical numbers, it's still even larger than it ever was. So it's a weird statistical thing that's happening. They are kind of working through cases, but it's a mess. I don't have any good info or good news yet regarding embassy processing, and that's the unfortunate case. Like there's things like the U.S. Embassy in Turkey, Ankara, Turkey, said they're not going to do interviews for immigrant visas, these are green card cases, unless the person is a resident of Turkey. But all of a sudden last week they updated the website without much fanfare, and they said, oh, they're changing that. If you're doing a family case, it's okay if you don't live in Turkey, but if you're doing a diversity visa lottery, you have to be a Turkish citizen or national. And if you're doing an employment-based case, you have to be a Turkish national. So that's really unfair, especially for the diversity visa. But they switched it up. Don't tell anybody. I still have cases pending on Carl over a year. Nothing's moved forward. So I don't know who to believe, what's going on. And that's really the truth right there. I don't even think they know what's going on. It's just a unique situation, a hot mess, frankly. And we're just trying to get through it. But that's about it, 29 Super C. Thank you for the question, though. About golf logs, one other regular said I had an interview for my I-485, that's adjustment of status green card, September 27th. After the interview, the status changed to interview was completed and my case must be reviewed. Should I worry my case hasn't been approved yet? Well, you know, typically most cases are approved within, at the spot or within 48 hours. So I can't say whether you'd be worried or not because I don't know your case, but I've had it where it's taking like a month for no reason. But you know, I can't tell you whether to worry or not because I don't know the details. But I've had it before where a case took a month after the interview and it got approved. There was no reason for it to lag that long. But I knew the case was strong, so I had no worries. I said, okay, this person the officer's just being lazy or something like that. But I don't know enough details about your case to be able to answer. I may have talked before golf. I had a private video consultation. I can't remember the details. But to really analyze it, I have to open up a case, read your I-485 adjustment, talk with you and the petitioner, all this kind of stuff. I really have to do a full analysis. So that's about it. But thank you for your question. Tanji asks, what if I lose my job after getting the green card EAD, EB3? How many days to find another job? So if you applied for a green card and you got your work authorization while the case was pending, this is a sticky situation. So first of all, there's a lot going on here. You really need to have a private consultation with a lawyer. So if you had an I-140 submitted and you submitted your form I-485 adjustment of status and you got an EAD, so I'm assuming you did file for it and it's pending, if 180 days pass while the I-485 is pending based on an approved I-140, then you could switch jobs. And how much time do you have? You have the time until the case is adjudicated. It could happen sooner, it could happen later, I don't know. I don't know when you filed the adjustment case, and the timelines aren't that consistent. But the reality is you got to find the same or similar job as soon as possible and hope that the adjustment of status I-485 has been pending 180 days to be able to qualify for portability. So if you notice, I said a lot of different nuanced stuff, names, numbers, and stuff like that. It gets complicated, so you really need to talk to a lawyer in private to review the whole case. But if you qualify for portability to be able to change job, you need to find it as soon as possible and file Form I-485J so the government recognizes the new job position is same or similar. So there's a lot of stuff that has to happen, but you guys do it as soon as possible because we don't know when your case is getting approved. And if it gets approved and you didn't have the job, later on it could be a problem potentially. It could pop up if they do an investigation at citizenship time. So it's an unfortunate situation, but you need to just get on top of it, get a job, whatever means possible. But thank you for your question, Tanaji. Maro asks, can I apply for humanitarian parole for my fiance from Afghanistan, but we never met before? So you're not applying for anything. Humanitarian parole is something they'll have to apply for. You're not related to him anyway. But I don't handle humanitarian parole cases, so I'm going to limit how much I talk about that. If you're going to do a fiance visa, you can try that out, but you do need to meet. There are exceptions to that, but I'm not sure if you'll fall with an exception. So that's something that has to happen, a full analysis of the case. But I don't do humanitarian parole, so you want to talk with a lawyer that does humanitarian parole and fiance visas maybe, so you can talk both of them at the same time, so it couldn't be much help. Marok asks, some people say I can't because I haven't met him or her, or we don't have an engagement. Yeah, if you do a fiance visa, you have to have met in person once in the last 2 years. There are exceptions for that if you could prove it. It's really hard to get an exception. So best is to try to go meet in Pakistan or something like that at least once. It's going to be tough. Maybe you can make an exceptional circumstance argument because Afghanistan, the situation there, but I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. It's a weird situation. It's unique. It's going to be a tough one. Sorry, Marafan. Abidun asks, hi, how long is it taking to receive a receipt notice from USCIS? Hi, Abidun, I think you've been on the line before. It's gone really fast, really. It's taking like a week or two for most cases, but there's always exceptions. Things get lost and all that kind of stuff. Last November, it was taking like 2 months to get a receipt notice, which is wild. I've never seen that before. But right now, I'm having checks cashed within a few days and receipts come in within 10 days. So it's gone really fast, but sometimes there are exceptions, you know? What you want to do when you send stuff to USCIS is, write a personal check so that when it's cash, you could tell it's there. It was cash, you could identify it. Also use Form G1145. This is a form with a text message or email you once the case has been accepted. So that's another thing. And send it with Priority Mail Express so you know it's going to get there next day. With USPS, it's how it is, Priority Mail Express. But also have a signature requirement for it. Now, if it arrives there on the weekend, they will not sign for it at USCIS. Sometimes the post office forgets to ask for a signature and drops it off on a Saturday or something. But for the most part, they wait on the next Monday, and if you send over the weekend, and they get a signature. So I use those 3 methods to confirm they have the case. Make sure my office check that goes out is cash. We get the G1145, client gets a text or email, and we track the mailing. So it's really important to do that kind of stuff to confirm and to be able to back it up that you sent something to USCIS, not just for the initial filing, but RFE responses and everything like that. Hopefully you get the receipts soon, Abidun. Thank you for your question. The Grace asks, hi John, is it really difficult to get a tourist visa to the US, entering the United States after US citizen partner already filed for a marriage petition for you? Yeah, it is extremely difficult because you've already indicated that you're going to apply for a green card. Having said that, I've seen it be approved before. It really is going to come down to luck. One main problem you're going to have right now is most embassies are not scheduling tourist visa interviews. So because of the pandemic and being understaffed and stuff, so just getting an interview to apply for a tourist visa is going to be hard right now. But let's say you get the interview, you just be honest with them, let them know you're coming back home. Hopefully you have a job or school or some reason that you need to return back to your home country. So you show that you're not going to go to the US and just stay there, because that is a possibility that you could do once you enter, to just file for adjustment status in the US. But it's going to be up to the embassy. So it's up to how much money you want to waste on this. Potentially, as I think it's like $265 or something like that, or $205, I can't remember, for a tourist visa, and then going there and all this kind of stuff. The key for me is, because I have clients ask all the time, I don't mind that you apply for a tourist visa, but just make sure on the form DS-160, which is the main application for a tourist visa, you're consistent with everything that's on the I-130 petition, the marriage petition that you started, and you say everything, and there's no chance that they're going to interpret something as misrepresentation or things that are incorrect, because we don't want to have that visa application come back later to haunt you because you said something inconsistent in that application with what you said in another petition, another interview, or something like that. So my worry is just preventing misrepresentation by happening by accident. But whether it's going to be approved or not, most likely it's not, but it's up to you. I've seen it be approved before, so I've been wrong on this, in the sense like, and not even wrong, it's probably not. The chances of denial are high, but it's not unheard of for approval. It really depends on your luck and your background, and mostly the officer you're dealing with and what they think of you. Jay says, how long will it take to get a response or apply for humanitarian visa for Afghan? I don't handle these cases, but I've seen in general humanitarian parole cases take 2 months and 2 years. I've seen them be approved and then a week later send a denial letter. So, and especially like, honestly, every day I get at least five emails from Afghan individuals wanting humanitarian parole. So there's probably tens and tens of thousands, probably 100,000 plus Afghans applying for humanitarian parole right now. And USCIS is not staffed to handle a fraction of that for these kind of cases. So you can expect very long processing times unless they make a system that's streamlined or do something. So I'm not optimistic it's going to be anywhere fast if you're lucky enough to get it reviewed and approved. YH, I recently filed my I-130 for my parents. From your experience, how long will it take to get approved? What is the next step? Do I need to go for biometrics? So when you file for an I-130, if your parents are overseas, average it takes 8 to 10 months, but it could be longer, it could be shorter. It's just the average. And there's no biometrics required for an I-130 for parents. Essentially, you submit it. Hopefully, you submit everything right. And again, you might get an RFE. Like I just got an RFE for a parent case. It was a U.S. citizen filed for his mom and his dad. Mom got approved at the 9-month mark. Dad got an RFE saying we didn't send the child's birth certificate to prove the parent-child relationship. And we had sent it. It's in the file. It was there. But errors like this happen. So I submitted it, and about 3 weeks later, actually this morning, we got the approval. So that's just the way it is. And then once that's done, you begin preparing for consular processing. Download my ebook, marriageimmigrationlaw.com. It really goes over what consular processing is, and it has links to my YouTube videos. It might be an easier way to find my YouTube videos that break down all this kind of stuff. So you can check out the links in the ebook or go to my YouTube page. It's there as well. Tony asks, my I-824 was finally approved October 15th. Any idea on embassy processing in Montreal Consulate? Can I expedite due to my 7-year-old is an EIP for professional speech? Thank you in advance. So let's back it up a little bit. Tony, how long did it take for the I-824 to be approved? This is really important because I've been getting a lot of people asking. I haven't filed the I-824 recently, but it takes like 8 months. If you know how long it took, and even better, which service center was doing it, it'd be really helpful for the rest of the people that are doing these kind of cases. But what's the next step? Montreal is taking around 8 months right now to schedule an immigrant visa interview. You could make an expedite request. Just contact the MVC first, see if they'll approve it and send to the embassy faster. You got to just contact everybody. Contact embassy first, and then the embassy, and then your congressperson. You just got to push the issue and explain what it is, or else wait 8 months. Now, even though your I-824 is approved, it doesn't mean they're going to send it right away to the MVC. I've had it where they forgot about it. So you need to wait maybe technically 2 months before contacting the MVC to see what's going on. Maybe try it out for a month, but you got to keep an eye on this because sometimes I-240s get approved, but they don't go anywhere. So there's a lot of paying attention. But yeah, you can always do an expedite request if you have good facts and good evidence. So unfortunately, I'm sorry to hear that your 7-year-old has these issues. It's just sad. I have children too. It's just hearing that is unfortunate. But I hope everything works out, but that's it. But thank you for your question. I hope we wish you the best, and let me know when you file the I-240 so I get some more information. Steven asks, how old do you have to be to sponsor my father if I'm in the military? 21. If you're going to petition for a parent, you have to be 21 years of age. If your parent is in the U.S. without authorization, without visa and all that kind of stuff, there's a thing called parole in place for active military members. So that's something to look into if you need it. So what do we expect now the trial ban's lifted? We are still waiting for visa interviews. Expect the same. I don't think it's going to make any difference, unfortunately. The Philippines is one of the worst hit. They have one of the highest visa interview rates because there's so many people in the Philippines and they're applying. But I haven't heard of any movement happening in the Philippines yet. So unfortunately, probably you're still going to be stuck until we get notice that they're unstucking things. So if that's a word, unstucking. Unfortunately, just bad news. Same old, Raquel. Hopefully it changes. And if you do get an appointment, let me know so I can share that information with other fellow Filipinos. Can a U.S. citizen and a person with a visitor visa marry in the USA, then go back to the home country of the visitor, and then maybe apply for a visa someday? Will it cause issues? Well, generally it won't. But I had one colleague who told me about a case, and this is secondhand, third-hand information, but I had a colleague who said they had a marriage case where there was a person in India applied for a tourist visa saying, I need to go to my brother's graduation in the United States. And she was approved for the tourist visa, flew into the United States, went to her brother's graduation, and then got married, went back, and then did the full process of marriage visa, go to the embassy, all legit. It was denied at the end for misrepresentation fraud. And the problem was, I guess, the embassy would have asked, are you engaged with somebody? And they didn't say it probably. And so when they got married, they're like, well, why don't you tell us you had a fiance in the United States and you lied to us. Now, the person didn't violate their status in the sense that they came to the U.S. on a tourist visa and left. They didn't overstay or anything like that. So typically, immigration lawyers say, yeah, it's no problem. But because in that DS-160, just like when I talked about earlier with someone asking about a tourist visa, my goal as immigration is just that you have consistent and proper information so they don't hit you with misrepresentation or fraud later. So if the person gets a visitor visa and gets married, they need to say in the DS-160 that they're engaged with somebody in the United States that they're getting married with. And if they do that, most likely they're going to get denied the visa. So people don't want to say it. But you got to say it, because if you come and get married, they'll be like, wait, you told us you didn't have anyone in the United States. In the DS-160, you say you're not engaged. You come in, you get married, there was a lie over here. And so we're going to accuse you of fraud. And then getting that waiver is going to be a whole mess. So what it causes issues, we got to sit and talk in private to see what the situation is, the background is, all this kind of stuff, and there's planning involved. But the key is always be honest and straightforward with the embassy to avoid longer, dire consequences, although it might have some short-term hits. I'll take one last question. We'll see you guys. I know it causes issues for adjustment of status if I'm married within the first 60 days upon entry. There's also, see, user, there is no issue with getting married within the first 60 days upon entry. I prefer people don't do it, but there's a lot of bad information on the internet and on YouTube that says a 30, 60, 90-day rule with USCIS. USCIS does not have a 90-day rule. I have clients get married on the day they arrive. I've never had a problem when they're marrying a U.S. citizen. So that I wouldn't repeat that, because a lot of lawyers, even on YouTube, again, they talk about this, don't get married for 60-day stuff. That's not per se true. But there's just a lot more going on, so I wanted to sit and talk with the couple that's doing this case so they could plan it out better. But Stella asks, my boyfriend is a U.S. Army. I'm a student who's out of status. How do I become a U.S. citizen? Well, if you're an F1 student out of status, if you're married to a U.S. citizen, you just file for adjustment status. Now, I don't know the details of your case. We need to talk about that. But, if you like to schedule a private consultation, email my office. Fees do apply. I'll tell you what it is in the email. But that's about it. Thank you so much for everyone who participated. Sorry we couldn't get to everybody and get consultation to everybody. The time's limited, and this throat can only handle so much. I had to wake up today at 5 a.m., go to USCIS for an interview. The case didn't get approved on the spot, which it should have. But about 3 hours later, we got notification that it was approved, so that was good news. The marriage case took much longer. We filed it in February 2020. All my cases that I filed in February 2020 had been approved within a year. This one, a year and a half goes by. Finally got the interview. You're worried, why did it take so long? Just bureaucracy. But that's about it. Thank you, everyone. We'll be back next Wednesday, 6 p.m. Pacific time, to take your questions. Thank you, everyone. You all have been so wonderful. Hopefully we talk soon and I can catch up with you all. Bye-bye. God bless. I hope you enjoyed this educational video. You'll find our social media site has a lot more videos, images, and information about the U.S. immigration process. Please check those out on the various social media websites.